By mid-August 2026, the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln had been deployed for more than 260 days, an endurance run that included over 240 consecutive days at sea without a port call, a record-setting stretch by public reporting. During this time, the carrier and its strike group supported U.S. operations tied to tensions with Iran, part of a broader American effort to deter adversaries and reassure partners. Long deployments are not new in U.S. naval history, but a stretch of this duration, especially with such limited breaks, collides with human limits at sea and the politics at home. As concerns from family members and some lawmakers surfaced, focused on mental health strain and supply conditions, the nation's political conversation sharpened. Former President Donald Trump responded publicly, saying the Lincoln's deployment was not nearly long enough, downplaying worries about sailor well-being. That remark, and the reactions it drew, illuminate an enduring tension in American life between strategic imperatives and the human costs borne by a small slice of the population that serves. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth pushed back hard on portrayals of dire conditions, calling them completely misrepresented. The Navy, meanwhile, said it had not observed an increase in suicidal ideations or attempts aboard the Lincoln. At the same time, the service declined to release detailed data, citing operational security and patient privacy. Taken together, this is a familiar pattern. Families and advocates demand transparency. Uniformed leaders balance care for their people with the privacy of sailors and the fog of ongoing operations. According to Military Times, the Lincoln's deployment began on November 21, was expected to end in May, and was then extended without a publicly announced return date. Military Times also reported that more than 200 family members met with Acting Secretary of the Navy Hung Cao, raising concerns about mental health, exhaustion, and safety aboard the ship. Family members described mounting stress and uncertainty as the deployment wore on, and some relayed alarming stories of sailors in crisis. These are accounts reported by families and remain attributed, not official totals. Public reporting confirms one sailor went overboard in early August, but was recovered, treated, and transferred for follow-on care. Officials did not characterize it as a suicide attempt. Crucially, claims circulating online that specified a particular number of suicide attempts, such as the widely repeated 6, are not confirmed by available public reporting. In any crisis narrative, precision matters. When lives and reputations are involved, the difference between confirmed facts and anxious rumor determines whether policy responds to reality or to a mirage. The Navy has emphasized that support resources, counselors, chaplains, medical professionals, and resilience programs are in place aboard ships, including the Lincoln. These resources can be a lifeline, but they also function within an institution whose core mission is operational readiness. The question for leaders: where to draw the line between mission demands and the steady wear of sailors and families? The Lincoln's record-setting at-sea stretch, more than 240 consecutive days without a port call, did not happen in peacetime isolation. It unfolded amid high-stakes signals toward Iran and broader regional tensions. When deterrence is the goal, visibility matters. A nuclear-powered carrier staying on station projects resolve, but a signal to adversaries can become a stress test for crews. Families and some lawmakers pressed for clarity on supplies and conditions. Routine concerns that become acute when home view dates shift and routines fracture. In democracies, oversight thrives on detail. The public's understanding is often shaped by preference.
a quote, a post, a photo. But in this case, a few specifics are firm, and they matter.
First, the timeline. A deployment beginning November 21st, intended to end in May, extended into late summer with no announced return date. Second, the scale. Over 260 days deployed by mid-August, with more than 240 uninterrupted days at sea, a record for consecutive days underway without port. Third, the mission context, part of a U.S. posture aimed at Iran. Fourth, the official stance. Navy leaders say reports of increasing suicidal ideation or attempts are not borne out by what they have observed, while withholding detailed figures for security and privacy reasons. Fifth, the human story. A verified overboard case in early August, with the sailor recovered and transferred for care. Officials have not labeled it a suicide attempt. As for some viral images and claims, a widely shared piece of purported shipboard graffiti, for example, is not independently verified. It does not appear in this report, and we treat it as unverified internet material. Accountability requires caution. The goal is not to minimize hardship, but to keep the conversation tethered to evidence, so that relief, if needed, is fact. Against this backdrop, Donald Trump not merely enough comment, named it as a political statement favoring operational deterrence over welfare concerns. Some will view it as a claim about deterrence in a dangerous world. Others will view it as indifference to the building's concerns. Both reactions point to a larger divide. Less than 1% of Americans surveyed report. When deployment stretched and the reasons why existed in their citizens, the civil-military dialogue rise. The Lincoln's mission may be delayed, but its effects are intimate. Government kitchens, classrooms, and private neighborhoods far from our headlines. The Pentagon's top civilian, Pete Hegseth, said conditions were completely misrepresented. That's a first rebuttal, and a reminder to criticize these claims as courage. But rebuttal alone cannot substitute claims. Signals can be used to clear, unclassified facts about timelines, protocols, and communication. The public deserves clear explanations for why extensions happen and how we will judge these decisions. The Navy says it has counselors, chaplains, medical professionals, and resilience programs, and it ensures that we will make it so that spikes in suicidal ideation or attempts on the ship. If actions don't occur, it must be reported. The facts exist, and either way, the obligation remains. Match ambitious strategy with sustainable rotations, and care for the people executing them. The Lincoln's deployment tells two stories at once. One is of capability, of a ship that can endure and project power far from home. The other is of strain, of a community that bears the cost of readiness. In a republic, neither story should eclipse the other. Strategy without people is theory. People without strategy are unprotected. The measure of leadership is balancing both. What we can say with confidence is limited but important. The deployment is unusually long. Families and some lawmakers raised concerns. The Navy disputes a crisis narrative and cites onboard resources. A verified overboard incident ended in recovery, and hyper-specific online tallies of suicide attempts remain unconfirmed by public reporting. The next steps, clarity on schedules, consistent communication, and continued support, will matter more than any viral image or soundbite. The debate over how long is long enough will continue. The test is whether that debate honors both the mission